All right, good morning. Welcome to Metro Plan Orlando TSMO meeting. I will call the meeting to order. My name is Christina Colon. I'll be chairing the meeting today. This meeting is in person. It's important for all TSMO members to attend our meetings in person. So all committee meeting members are asked to be present in the Metro Plan Orlando boardroom for us to have a quorum. Members of the public will still be able to participate virtually, and we encourage them to do so. There are two public comment points in the meeting. Members of the public attending in person who want to speak need to fill out a comment card and give it to Rachel, who's right over here. Those attending on Zoom who want to speak can use the raise hand feature on the Zoom screen. We also accept comments by email and phone message before the meeting. At this time, I'd like to recognize Mr. Eric Hill, Metro Plan Orlando staff, for an agenda review.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and good morning, members in the room and online. I have several announcements to make here, so bear with me. First, I want to recognize Ms. Giselle Valadez, who is a new staff member. She's joined our communications team. Thank you, Giselle. Also, we have two new members that have joined the ranks. First, Ms. Dalita Singh with the Central Florida Expressway has taken over the reins for Brian. And then Kliti Sanyar, am I pronouncing it correct? Am I pronouncing it correct?
He's not here yet.
He's not here. Okay, I thought he was seated over there. Okay, he is seated over there. My apologies. Two new members. The next thing is you have at your place a guide on using the boardroom terminals or tandems. I know that some of the new members may not be familiar with it, but again, this is a reminder for you. And next, traffic signal retiming list. You should have received an email from me on the retiming program, and we're soliciting new intersections and roadways from each of the members that are maintaining signals. So if you could provide that to us at your earliest convenience, we really appreciate it. And then also in the agenda notice that went out, we do have, as part of the tech meeting, a preview on our TIP program that's coming up, as well as our PPL. That's the Transportation Improvement Program and the Prioritized Project List. That is going to be two presentations at TAC. So if you can hang around to see these presentations, we appreciate it. And if you can get us your comments, we're requesting information from you. It's a quick turnaround. We understand that, but please, if you could help us in that regard. Next, the Florida Advanced Air Mobility Training at the Orlando City Hall will take place on June 3rd through the 6th. This is the last call for you to register. You may recall we did have a presentation from the city a couple months ago on this technology. You should have all received an email from me on the National Operations Centers of Excellence virtual peer exchange on AI in TSMO. It's going to occur on June the 24th at 12 o'clock. This will be a Zoom meeting, and the organizers are asking that if you do participate, that you keep your videos on. They want that interaction from you. We did participate, Metro Plan Orlando participated in the Safety Summit on, I believe that was on May the 9th. Metro Plan Orlando was awarded the Randy Schrader Lifetime Achievement Award. For those that remember Randy, he was an active member on our committees. We received this award for the outstanding support and commitment to pedestrian safety. And it was awarded to us from Best Foot Forward. Also, you should have received an email from us on the Central Florida Safety Strategic Plan Speed Study Survey. The survey closes on June the 30th. And then that is a perfect segue into our May Safety Moment by Mike Wilson. And that concludes my comments, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you, Eric, and good morning, committee members. May is Motorcycle Safety Month. And we've covered this before, but we'll take a little different angle this time around. We have over 200 fatal or serious crashes per year involving motorcyclists. That has dropped about 11% from pre-COVID levels. But if you see in there that serious auto crashes have dropped by significantly more, about over 30%. Motorcyclists only account for about 3% of registered vehicles, but 15% of our KSIs. Not surprising considering the speed and the lack of protection for a motorcyclist. But what's really critical to understand is that experience and training really matter for motorcyclists. National research into this has found that riders with less than 2 years experience have 2 to 4 times higher crash rates than more experienced riders. That can be overcome with training. And fortunately, in our area, Osceola Sheriff's Office is providing the SMART motorcycle safety course. It's basically equivalent to what a lot of the law enforcement learn when they're learning to ride a motorcycle. So this goes above and beyond what you would learn through the supplemental motorcycle endorsement course. And you can go to ridesmartflorida.com to get more information about that. So if anybody is getting into motorcycling, or even if they've been at it for a while, even people who've been riding for a long time say they still get a lot out of that course. So that concludes my safety moment for this month. Thank you. Any questions?
Any questions for Mike? All right, thank you. All right, next we have item 4, agency reports. This is an opportunity for any of our partner agencies to speak to the committee. If any of our partners wish to provide updates during this slot, please let Rachel and Eric know via email at least a week prior to the TSMO meeting. Today, we have Jonathan Scarf for our regular report out from FDOT.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Thank you. Good morning, TSMO committee members. I have just one brief announcement for you this morning. If you've not yet received the news, District 5 has named Jim Strohs as the new Director of Transportation Development. Might be a familiar name to many folks in this room. Obviously, he's holding a critical role within the department as it pertains to projects being planned and designed. Jim has been a integral part of the department for 19 years, and he previously served as the District Traffic Operations Engineer. So really, that's all the update I have for you this morning, and wanted to make sure that you are aware of his new role. And pending questions, I will be available following your committee for department-related questions.
Awesome. Any questions there? I know Jack Atkins was an awesome partner in that role, and wish him a happy retirement and welcome.
He was, ma'am. It was sad to see him go.
Yeah.
It was a short time. The only thing I regret is not having more time with him.
Yeah, he was great. He still is. Just retired.
Yeah. Good point. Good point.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Move on to item 5, roll call. Rachel, you may proceed with roll call.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll ask members to turn on their microphone when called, reply with here or present, and turn your microphone off. Barden?
Here.
Crandell for Barkessa?
Here.
Brock?
Here.
Cologne?
Here.
Delachey?
Here.
Ide?
Present.
Elliott Moore?
Present.
Gordon?
Here.
Horn?
Here.
Wynne?
Here.
Jameson?
Here.
Mendenhall? Nelson?
Present.
Price?
Present.
Porter for Pullum?
Here.
Ramdat? Sadler?
Present.
Sanders?
Here.
Saunier? Senerans?
Here.
Singh?
Here.
Smith?
Present.
Tahira?
Here.
Perez for Wetzel? Martello for Williams? Yeager?
Present.
Yeargain.
Here.
Madam Chair, that concludes the roll call. We do have a quorum.
Wonderful. We'll now hear public comments on the action items. We ask that you provide your name and address for the record, and please hold your comments to 2 minutes or less. If any members of the public wish to comment and are joining us virtually, please use the raise hand function and you will be recognized, or dial *9 on your phone keypad. We'll send you a prompt to unmute your mic. Do we have anyone joining us virtually who would like to make a comment?
There are no hands raised online.
Do we have any members of the public attending in person that wish to make a comment? All right. Are there any written comments that were submitted before the meeting?
None, Madam Chair.
All right. We have 2 action items today. Members making or seconding a motion, please state your name. The first one is requesting approval of the meeting minutes. Those are in tab 1. And those are from the April 25th, 2025 meeting. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Is there a motion to approve?
Shad Smith, motion to approve.
Second, Nelson.
Is there any discussion? All right, it's been properly moved in second. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, same sign.
Aye.
All right, it's passed. Our next action item is an amendment to the tip. More information can be found in tab 2 of your agenda packet. We'll hear from Mr. Jason Satori of Metro Plan Orlando, who will tell us more about this item. Go ahead, Jason.
Morning, Madam Chair and committee members. This morning we have 1 tip amendment, and additional information regarding the amendment is looking at section 2 of your agenda packets. This amendment is for the Edgewater Drive Complete Street Project, which is an existing project in the tip that is being segmented into separate phases for construction. The amendment will add a -2 project phase for segment A, which is from Lakeview Street to Adair Boulevard, and would move some of the SU and local funds from the -1 phase to the -2 phase for construction in fiscal year 2025. This amendment request does not add any additional funding. As I mentioned earlier, you have some additional information located in section 2 of your agenda packets. With that, unless there are any questions, we are asking for your recommendation of approval. Thank you.
All right, are there any questions? Yes.
I'm questioning the length of this segment because it's 0.0047 miles. That's only like 25 feet. So I think that might be an error just to.
It's so that is actually
Oh,
it's going to be a roundabout.
It's essentially an intersection.
Yeah.
Yeah, or it will be an intersection. Okay.
Okay, any other questions? All right, is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Mark Tejeda.
Okay,
Second, Shad Smith.
all right, any discussion? All right, it's been properly moved in second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign? Okay, pass. We have 2 presentations and we will hold questions the end of each presentation. Our first presentation this morning is on I-4's Regional Advanced Mobility Elements Frame. Eric Gordon and Hans Aus, Florida Turnpike Enterprise. Yeah, Eric, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, committee members. We just wanted to pass along some information, and later on, Hans also is going to share some information about volunteer opportunities, but we wanted to reintroduce, this has been a project and a grant project that's been out for 4, 5, 6 years, something like that. So we're actually in some of the final phases of the onboard unit, so we wanted to go into that. So of course, FRAME stands for Florida's Regional Advanced Mobility Elements Project, and it's a connected and automated vehicles program component. So we're going to cover the what, why, when, where, how, and when as part of the presentation. So buckle up. All right. So FRAME, here's a link to the FRAME project to find out more information about it. Of course, it's got a lot of connected vehicle and ITS elements, detour plans all throughout the corridor from Tampa to Orlando, and it's a partnership. It's led by District 7, so FDOT District 7 is the lead, and the Turnpike is just a participant, along with District 1 there in Polk County, and also District 5 in this region, a portion of District 5. So why is it needed? It's a vital artery. I think some of you might drive I-4 pretty frequently, and a lot of economic opportunities. This slide used to say 2018, there were 75 million annual visitors, and I updated to 2024. I don't know if that number is accurate. I feel like we have a lot more than 75 million visitors. If you have a good number for that, please correct me, but that's the number I found the other day. That's still a lot, and there's still a lot of traffic traveling between Orlando and Tampa. Severe mobility issues all across the region. Yep, and I know Eric does traverse this section quite a bit. And so we looked at, this was really, like I said, about 5-6 years, and we looked at crash data back in the day. Here's just a heat map showing some of the crashes over time, you know, a 2016 to 2019 view of it. At that time, you know, there were quite a few incidents, severe crashes, and even incidents and crashes that completely blocked the ability to use I-4 at the time. And so this frame project is intended to help get people around some different alternative routes. So the goal is to improve safety, alleviate traffic congestion from Tampa, like I said, to Southwest Orlando. We got a number of signals involved. So at the Turnpike, we don't get as involved in the signals, but signals are a big part of this deployment. Here's a good map showing some of the limits. And so we have, speaking just for the Turnpike, we have a few miles in District 7, State Road 589, Veterans Expressway. We cover the central, there's a Polk Parkway right in the center. And so that's 24 miles or so that we have there. And then in District 5, we're covering portions of 429, the southern end, the southern part of 417. And then also we have a little bit of the Turnpike main line involved. So our component of this is 37 miles, and they're mainly roadside units and have been deployed as part of the connected vehicle project portion of this project. And so these are some of the potential stakeholders. I think these stakeholder lists were produced at the time. It's my understanding that now District 5 is working very closely with Seminole County, the fire group there. They got quite a few vehicles on board for that. These are just the geography-based, who are the potential stakeholders and maybe stakeholders who'd like to be involved with the project. And here is a snippet of the District 5 section. You could see primary diversion routes, supporting I-4. So some of those have been identified. There's a number of, like I said, roadside units that have been deployed to help with that. There's primary diversion routes, there's secondary diversion routes. And so I did not include the District 1 map and the District 7 map, but there are similar maps developed for those, just to give you an idea of the scope involved. This is just the District 5 area of I-4 frame and everything that's been deployed. And wanted to see if it would be okay to pass it along to Hans, and he's going to carry us through and get into a little more detail on the onboard units. Thank you.
Good morning. So in terms of the connected vehicle component of I-4 frame, we're looking at vehicle to X, vehicle to infrastructure, vehicle to everything. And there's other components, for example, vehicle to pedestrian, vehicle to vehicle, that are all contained within the project. And what we are looking for volunteers for is for the installation of onboard units in the vehicles. And the onboard units communicate with the roadside units. This is an example of a semi-permanent onboard unit installation with the heads-up display up on the dash and the OBU underneath the driver's seat. And there's also a mounted antenna and a power connection. There's also the availability of the portable onboard units. It's about the size of a small tackle box. And then, of course, there's the antenna as well as power. And we've received commitments, I'm sorry, Districts 1, 5, and 7 have received commitments from local agencies. So in terms of how the system works, there's different applications that connect through the onboard unit and to the RSU and to the various components that are in the cabinets, for example, the traffic signals, or for this example of freeway for speed warning and in-vehicle signage, etc. This is an example of the arterial applications. And so what we're looking for is participation from volunteer agencies to provide vehicles to be outfitted with the OBUs. The costs of the hardware are covered under the grant, so there's no cost to the volunteer agency. And the OBU vendor will train the fleet manager from the agency to perform the installation, which is, as you saw on the previous slides, pretty straightforward. So in terms of the when, right, the volunteer commitment, we're looking for to see if we can have volunteers by July of this year. And that would allow us to have delivery of the OBUs by about November, and the installation and activation to be done January, February of 2026. And we'd be monitoring the communication between the OBUs and the roadside units for about 12 to 18 months thereafter as part of the grant. Any questions?
Yes, Mr. Smith.
My question is, what kind of travel pattern are you looking for volunteers to have? And are you looking for actual like cities and agencies, or are you just looking for individuals? Kind of just a little bit more information.
Yep. Thank you for the question. So in terms of the travel pattern, it's vehicles that are traversing through the section of I-4 frame. So from Tampa to Orlando, wherever we have the, in terms of the turnpike, where we have roadside units, but it'd be for any portion of the I-4 frame project. And with respect to your second question, I'm sorry, I did forget it.
It was, well, or, most of us represent agencies. So you're looking for agencies to volunteer, or you're looking for individuals to volunteer?
Thank you. We're looking for agencies. We are also looking for volunteers if there are volunteers, anyone that would like to participate. Typically, so far, we have had agencies respond, fire departments, and as well as we're outfitting, for example, our Road Ranger fleet is what we're looking to do internally within the Turnpike to see if we can have that.
And I think it's mainly agency volunteers for that fleet level. And then I'm even interested on being an individual, but I would probably go with the portable. So if there's a mix of that, we have ongoing meetings with the vendor and with the District 7 team. So we're still in the midst of trying to figure some of that out. We've got an initial set of like 20 being delivered to all of us. And then we're going to install like 2 vehicles on Road Rangers just to get us started at the Turnpike with the goal to deploy more throughout the year up to February.
Yeah, that kind of gets to my other question. How many units were you looking? I mean, you just said 20, so it's not nearly as many.
The grant commitment was approximately 670, and our current commitment overall with all the districts and the Turnpike, we're at about 450 to 500. So we're close, but we'd like to get as close to 670, I think, is if we can. That would be ideal. And then that way FHWA, we're fulfilling commitments in the grant. Yeah.
And that's 670 units?
Yes.
Okay. That you're looking to,
670
Get out.
vehicles outfitted with the units, yes.
okay. Yes.
In terms of the frequency of use, what minimums are you looking for? Someone to travel it once a week, once a month?
That's a great
Is there a
question.
target that you're
I
looking
think
for?
that what we're trying to do first is to outfit the vehicles, and if anybody's using that corridor, the more the better, because then that provides more data. We don't have a benchmark in terms of the minimum to say this is where we'd like to have a cutoff, because the main goal is to have participation. So we can understand if somebody thinks that they'd be using a vehicle to traverse the corridor on a daily basis and it just so happens to be a monthly basis.
And you said on the I-4, what about the detour routes as well? Is that something that interests you?
Potentially,
Yeah.
it could be. Yeah.
That there's roadside units, for sure. We know the roadside units that we've installed in terms of the Turnpike locations, but I do believe that there's, with respect to the other districts, they've had installations of roadside units and stuff.
That's a good question. We'll double check the diversion routes. Like, are there roadside units on those diversion routes? I think that's the case. I'm going to double check, but definitely 417, 429, Turnpike Main Line for a short portion, all I-4, of course, and then in this region.
Can you? Yes.
So, good morning. So I was part of the Trap Tech project years ago, and there's something similar to this that was done. And we found that a beneficial partner was a rental car company that found which of their vehicles was being rented to go along that corridor. And it worked very well. That was our best partner.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you have some ideas on, we could we can expand the focus, and if you have that contact information, we can always follow up on that. We'll follow up.
So we just reached the rental car companies at OIA because we have the largest rental car fleet in the world right here. And so we reached to them, and they looked at the travel pattern of prospective renters and assigned vehicles.
Excellent. Thank you, Charles.
Thank you.
All right. You have a question?
Yeah, this may be too in the weeds and stop me if it is, but I think it was like 2 slides back, you had the VS12, the pedestrian cyclist detection. What technology are you using to detect them?
That component's mainly worked through District 5. I don't have a lot of information on that, but I do know that we've had discussions about all the different applications. That one's going to be a unique approach from what I've seen, but it's still a work in progress. Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Great
'cause
question.
I know LiDAR is what we're trying to go for, but it's not approved on the APL yet for pedestrian detection. So I just didn't know if you had a different workaround.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Last question. Is there an academic component to this research with one of the universities of the traffic centers?
There is a research component. UF is going to be storing data, and I deleted the slide, but there is some information about that District 7 has put together, and we can follow up. I can follow up on that. There's definitely a research component, data server, data security. There's a lot of components like that that I just didn't mention today.
Thank you.
But great question.
I was just curious, with that many units that you're saying you have available, have you reached out to any of like the trucking firms that are around that travel that corridor quite a bit, or is that not something you're really looking for?
District 1 has. They've connected with Saddle Creek. I think that's the name of the trucking company. Yeah, different districts have reached out to truck. That's a good point. So they're trying to make progress on that.
Are you still looking for more? I have a brother-in-law that works for a pretty good sized trucking outfit that travel, and I know they travel that corridor a lot.
I think we're definitely open to that. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, we can get in touch with you.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I have a couple questions my own. For the equipment that's installed, the onboard unit,
Yes.
is that what it's called? What kind of data is it collecting, and is it talking to you or telling you anything? Just, could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So the the onboard unit has a display, a readout, and there's different applications in terms of the way that the onboard unit communicates to the driver to notify of certain whether it's what's happening on the roadway or the communication with the roadside units. The details of what is outputted by the onboard unit is currently in terms of it's currently in development by the vendor and how they're programming it. So I wouldn't be able to give you right now the specifics of what it communicates out to the driver, but there is communication to the driver in terms of the heads-up display. And I do believe there's also audible messages that come out of the OPU.
And what sort of data is it planned to collect? Is it like, I don't know, running speeds, braking? Is it stuff like that? Like,
It has, so
how
in the
aggressively
onboard,
you're braking and that kind of thing?
yeah. So thank you for the question. On the onboard unit, there's a gyrometer. There's also an accelerometer, and it's measuring those the movements of the vehicle, as well as GPS.
Mhm.
And that communicates with the RSU. It also communicates with like firmware. We also have firmware updates that communicate back to the onboard unit to update like the software so that that communication can happen better with the unit. With respect to the specific data collection, we can get back to you on the details of what's collected, because that's still in terms of the development, the specifics.
Okay, okay. And I think some folks mentioned, maybe outreach to companies, things like that.
Yes.
Things that crossed my mind were Disney, Universal, the Turnpike has the tandem trucks that register for the tandem truck lot access, that might be something. So, but yeah, I think that's great. Then any other questions? Okay,
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
thank you. All right. All right, our next presentation this morning is being presented remotely and is on implementing solutions from transportation research and evaluation of emerging technologies, also called iStreet. We have Dr. Purvi Manjunatha from University of Florida Transportation Institute. All right, can you,
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we
All
can.
right. Thank you so much for that introduction and this opportunity to present to this group. I'm not sure how many of you are aware of the iStreet Lab. It's a relatively new program, so I'll try to focus today's presentation on an introduction and then few projects that might be of interest to this group, and maybe we can have some time left for the questions. So the iStreet Lab, it's an acronym. It stands for Implementing Solutions from Transportation Research and Evaluating Emerging Technologies. So it started way back when Florida DOT, the central office, was drafting their CAV business plan. So connected and autonomous vehicles were like the hot topic, like AI is today, back in 2016, 2017, I believe. So that's when, the leadership got together from UF, Florida DOT, and City of Gainesville, and then said, it makes sense to have this three-way partnership so that, these technologies change every year, every 6 months. So we need to have a stakeholder group to essentially, have some of those pilot testing. So that's how the group got formed. And iStreet not only stands for the program, but it also stands for the network of roads that are out there with all those emerging technology implementation, like the one that my colleagues over there were mentioning with the I-4 program and some of the installations we have in Gainesville. So, as I mentioned, it is a collaboration of UF, FDOT, and City of Gainesville. It's a real world living lab. So when people ask where iStreet is wherever our road networks are. So right now, we have access to data from devices installed like over 200 plus miles of road network. So I would claim all of that to be a part of iStreet. So our vision is to be a leading global living lab for transportation, safety, and mobility innovators. So we want to provide that ecosystem for collaboration, research, testing, and market delivery of those innovations. So we want to make sure that our solutions address both urban and rural areas. And we do consider research, public agencies, industries, basically everyone in the system. Like, academia tends to get this, reputation for going super into research and not being, immediately practicable. But this program is set up to be, right at the border of, research and practice. So where we sit within the University of Florida Transportation Institute. So Transportation Institute has over 180 faculty members and obviously all those researchers and graduate assistants. So within that, we are one of the 4 research centers. So some of you might be familiar with, for example, McTran Center which produces the highway capacity software and other traffic simulation software. So iStreet Lab is one of the UFTI centers focused purely on emerging transportation technologies. Some quick facts about iStreet. So even though Gainesville is our home, as you can see, you can see multiple, orange stars all over the state. So we are involved in multiple projects across the state, and all of the road networks with, those roadside units or some sort of sensors like lidars or radars. All of them, we have access to them, and we have done pilots or evaluated the implementation in some way. We have over 10 industry testing partner, over 80 industry connections, over 150 roadside units and over 200 miles of road network. Those are some of the numbers. So it's been a lot like that has happened in the last 6-7 years, even though it's a young program. So I just want to take you through the journey and highlight, some of the key projects. Of course, I'll not be able to cover every single project out there. So before I talk about the project, I just wanted to show you this graphic that, when we talk about any kind of transportation technology, there are three pillars in the system: vehicle, the road users, and then the infrastructure. So all these relationships have to be studied and made sure that, everything is in order for any technology to actually succeed and give us, real benefits, whether it's safety or mobility. So we look at the system as a whole, not just, one particular component. I know some of our colleagues in other labs may be specializing in vehicle technology. Some of them might be specialized with like traffic signals and things like that. So we try to look at the overall system when it comes to emerging tech. So this was one of our earlier projects. So this project was partly funded by National Science Foundation and Florida DOT. So the graphic that you see here is of a signal optimization. So if you can play the second video, please, whoever is controlling the slide. So if you look at the second video down there on your bottom right, you can see like that green dot appear for that car that is approaching the intersection. So those green dots are actually the trajectory recommendation to the car. So the signal is telling the car, if every second, if you are at the next green bubble, you're going to keep getting green. The same thing is happening on the left side of your screen at the bottom there, where the signal optimization is happening so that the green bands could be made available to those cars. So the busy graphic that you see at the top, it just tells you there are three main components. One is a sensor fusion system, whether we look at the video, radar, lidar, or some other way to get the vehicle information, we fuse all of that information, and then we do two-level optimization where we optimize the signal timing, and we also provide the optimized trajectory data to the vehicles, and then the appropriate information is sent to the vehicles and the signal. So it was close to a 4 or 5 year project. It had to go through multiple rounds of funding with various advancements. We were able to test it in closed environment, including the Traffic Engineering Research Laboratory in Tallahassee and the SunTrax over there in Auburndale. The next project is where probably you can see some of the onboard units in action. So you are asking a question to my colleagues over there as to how those OBUs would look like. So this is how it looks like. I know it's a small video. So the tiny circle there is the roadside unit, which is communicating with the onboard unit, which the driver has in front of them. So in this case, you can see a pedestrian crossing, and the driver got a pedestrian warning message. So those are the type of message. This, for example, is a speed warning message. So speed warning, signal warning, pedestrian warning, all kinds of warnings it could be received there. So this was one of the earlier connected vehicle deployments in the country, I would say, besides the three major ones in Wyoming, New York, and in Tampa. So we learned a lot from this project. We interviewed the fleet folks who had these onboard units installed. Obviously, the ones that are being installed on the iPhone now are much advanced. So these were like the earlier versions, and these also operated now on and off. Now it is outdated. At the time, they operated in a radio frequency called as dedicated short range communication, or DSRC. So that was one of the earlier connected vehicle pilots. And then we were also involved with a number of projects like, this was, advanced driver assistance systems for buses. So whenever there would be a pedestrian, we have a lot of pedestrians on our campus. These sensors on buses, they gave pedestrian warnings. We have developed some of the more intricate traffic analysis tools using the fisheye cameras, whether it comes to near miss analysis or intersection analysis. We can also take in other types of data like eye tracking data to make sure that when we have so many warning devices, whether it's the cell phone or the onboard device, are the drivers actually looking at the things that they're supposed to look at, or are these devices giving them too much distractions, right? So we want to deliver that sweet spot of information where it's just enough information to keep them awake, at the same time not too much information to make them distracted. So we are looking at that from a human factors angle using these eye trackers. We can also ingest like other types of data like LiDAR, radar in our lab. This was one of the first few autonomous shuttles in the now autonomous shuttles are everywhere. But back in 2021, this was one of the first few autonomous shuttles which was able to directly communicate with the signal control. So on the right side of your screen, you can see the signal board inside the autonomous vehicle, which is actually talking to the signal where it is waiting right now. So on the right side, you can see it shows red. It should change to green momentarily. But yeah, that is what that autonomous shuttle did back in 2021. So even now, even though there are like hundreds of autonomous shuttle pilots over the country, only few of those autonomous shuttles actually have an onboard unit which can talk to the signals that they are driving through. So the reason being, usually the autonomous shuttle projects, they get funded as a autonomous project and connected vehicle component is usually forgotten. But what happened because of I-Street is because of the earlier connected vehicle project I showed you, even though those were funded through different stream and different ways, we were able to kind of bring those two separate sets of vendors and folks together and made sure that not only our shuttle was autonomous, it was also connecting, meaning it is talking to the signal. Some of the other latest things that has happened. So we have been, formally recognized by the Florida Legislative, both the House and the Senate. In 2023, recognized I-Street program. We have a 9-member advisory council appointed by the legislative and the university. We also started our industry partnership program. So we have 5 partners right now, and we are growing. So the bill in 2023 passed, it says basically 3 things, is to, I-Street shall conduct and facilitate research all over the state, be a continuing resource for the legislature and the department, and promote inter-campus transportation. So in the upcoming slide, I'll explain how exactly we are achieving those 3 objectives. These are our board members. You might be familiar with some of them. Senator Brandis was appointed by the President of the Senate. There are 9 other key members. For example, Mr. Tillander, he was appointed from the Secretary of Transportation. He chairs the Emerging Technology Division over there at DOT. We have, Ms. Makish, representing the Central Florida region with the CFX. So we have some really good people advising us. And some of the other things we recently did, Suntrax is, finally, getting ready to host a lot of people. I know some of the FSWA folks have been using the Suntrax over there right by the I-4. So we also helped organize an event called Plugfest. So Plugfest is an event this organization called Omniair hosts all over the world every 6 months. Typically in the US, Michigan has been their home, considering, Michigan is typically the home for all the automotive related innovation. But we were able to bring them down here to Suntrax and host that event with them. Not only that, we also took our own graduate students there. We plugged in all the research that we showed you earlier into the signal control there in the Suntrax, and we were able to demonstrate that, even though ours is a research project, it still works with the real life cabinets and controllers. So I told you, like, we have more than 80 industry connections in the mobility world or emerging transportation technology world. So these are some of the connections that we were able to bring them in and host virtual industry showcases. So we invited all of these companies based on certain themes like data platforms or smart sensors. And we invited all the DOT districts and their affiliated local agencies to attend this program as an audience. And since then, a lot of these companies have gone on to establish individual relationship with some of those districts or local agencies, and they have had like successful pilots all over the state of Florida. So till last year, even though, we are a program and, we claim all of our road network to be our lab, we didn't have like a physical lab till last year. So, College of Engineering gave us some funding to open our own physical lab. So now we have a lab with 3-car garage. You can see our, research AV in the bottom picture there. We have a brand new signal lab. We have all those monitors to directly feed into the city of Gainesville feed so that we can do any kind of analysis or real-time monitoring and evaluation. We also want to make sure, in addition to the well-established companies, we are also in touch with the up-and-coming startups in this space, and we promote them, and we kind of become a bridge between those startup companies and the more established companies and the public agencies. So we have partnered with Urban SDK, and we have licensed out the iStreet trademark so that we start this program to basically act as some sort of a startup accelerator program. One of the things that I mentioned in the iStreet bill that was passed in the Senate is to be a continuing resource to the state. So 2024, the state asked us to look at paratransit services in Florida and provide recommendations. So this was a 6-month effort. We undertook that effort at UF. And earlier this year in January, I went to the Senate Transportation Committee and presented the findings and recommendations. The ongoing projects, some of you asked what kind of pedestrian detections that are out there. So we are doing a pilot testing of one of the pedestrian detection system, which is camera-based, which is not. We are also looking at LiDAR-based system, but for this project, it was camera-based. We looked at connected vehicles with the app, with the OBU, how it works in conjunction with both the traditional push button as well as passive detection using the cameras. We are also the leading universities, as Mr. Gordon mentioned. There are 4 universities involved in the research with the I-4 corridor. University of Central Florida is looking at safety-related applications. University of South Florida is looking at mobility-related applications. Florida Poly is looking at creating a digital version of the I-4 sections and running simulations. And UF is going to collate all that effort and act as a bridge between the DOT, FHWA, and the vendors, basically coordinate the whole thing and provide a comprehensive report. In addition to that, we will also try to interview and conduct focus groups with those folks who will be using those OBUs. This is obviously going to be a longer effort, considering the implementation itself is going to take some time to complete. There was also a talk about the APL process for the pedestrian detection devices. It's not exactly clear yet as to what exactly the APL process is going to be. So we are working with the Traffic Engineering Research Laboratory, Mr. Derek Walmer there over at Florida DOT, to come up with recommendations. There is a very clear guideline right now in the DOT standards for vehicle detection. There has to be a pedestrian equivalent of that. And obviously, pedestrians are not as easy to detect and not as easy to track as vehicles which follow a lane discipline. So we are right now in conversation with the Traffic Engineering Research Laboratory to develop that standard. I know that was a lot to consume over a short period of time, but long story short, like the key takeaways are, the stakeholder relationships are extremely important. There are different number of people involved, people with vehicle technology, infrastructure technology, public agencies, DOTs, research entities, policymakers. So we need to bring all of them together, have conversation, and iStreet provides that ecosystem. So that's why it is very important. And then it's very easy to, lose track of things when you look at technology. There are very fancy toys. Sometimes, it's very easy to forget what's the whole purpose is. So always make sure, tie it to the solution, what the challenge is, how exactly the technology is addressing that challenge. And operational design domains are a key word, which often gets forgotten when it comes to general public or policymaker or even the, planners and engineers themselves. Is, a robotic taxi is not same as an autonomous shuttle, which is not same as a ADAS system, which is not same as a connected vehicle. So all of those technologies are completely different. You can't be comparing apples to oranges, and we need to understand when we evaluate a project what the ODD or the operational design domain is and what are the requirements and what you're trying to achieve there. Obviously, connectivity provides a lot of promise, but there needs to be the devil is always in the details, and there needs to be a clear study of that. And we are looking at some of the Vision Zero has been always number one in state of Florida, and Secretary Perdue has been every time he gives a keynote, he's been mentioning that what have we done in Florida, because we have done so many things regarding safety, but our crash numbers and the fatalities we are barely making a dent, but we do see a lot of promise with these sensing capabilities, and we want to make sure iState is a catalyst to make that happen. Education and workforce are important. Every 6 months the technology changes. There needs a lot of catching up to do, and a lot of the workforce they need to be in tune, and they should not be left behind. And we are coming up with programs and educational modules to make sure not only the current student but also the current existing workforce are also updated. And in any technology, they go through boom and bust cycles. So we need to, even if something is a failure, quote unquote, we still need to take lessons from those projects and make sure that next iteration of technologies address them, carefully and properly. Thank you so very much. I know I packed in a lot of things into 15 to 20 minutes, but I'm happy to take questions.
All right. Are there any questions for Dr. Manjunatha?
Okay.
All right. Yes, one question.
Dr. Manjunatha, I noticed in one of your slides you had a star in Orange County. Can you tell me what you're doing?
Yes, so I believe there are two projects that we are doing, right? I-4 starts in Tampa and ends in Orlando. So that star, I'm trying to see if I can go back to the graphic. So that star represent a part of I-4, and also so our computer science folks developed a traffic monitoring dashboard with District 5 when Mr. Dillmore was still with District 5. Now he has, of course, moved to the central office. So that's why we have the star over there. So what Dr. Anka did is he took all the traffic data and he created a system where we can run through and identify patterns automatically. So he has published some papers. I'm happy to follow up with what exactly his work was.
Okay, thank you for that.
All right. Any other questions? Okay. We have 3 common presentations with the TAC meeting for those. Oh, thank you, Dr. Manjunatha.
Thank you.
We have 3 common presentations with the TAC meeting for those who are available. We encourage you to stay for the TAC meetings to view those presentations. They are a presentation on the TIP, presentation on the draft prioritized project list, PPL, and a status update of the 2050 MTP. There are several items in the general information section of our agenda packet for your review under tab 4. There's a list of upcoming meetings in your agenda. Some notable meetings are the Metro Plan Board meeting will be June 11th, 2025, and the next TSMO meeting will be June 27th, 2025 at our normal time, 8:30. Are there any final comments from the members? Okay. We have our final public comment opportunity. If any members of the public wish to comment, please use the raise hand function and you will be recognized, or dial *9 on your phone keypad. We'll unmute your mic. After you are recognized, please state your name and address for the record and limit your comment to 2 minutes or less. Do we have anyone joining us virtually who would like to make a comment?
No hands raised online, Madam Chair.
Do we have any members of the public attending in person that wish to make a public comment?
No comments received.
Are there any written comments that were submitted before the meeting?
We have not received it.
Okay, at this time, there's no further business. We stand adjourned. Thank you.